So we're going to take a look at when we are raising a power to another power. So we're going to take a look at the scenario. I have x to the 5th, and I'm squaring it. So I have 2x to the 5th. So x to the 5th times x to the 5th is how many x's?
10.
Almost a 2.
5 plus 5 is 10. So let's see that again with this scenario. 3 times x to the 5th squared is 3x to the 5th times 3x to the 5th. It's two of the same things multiplied together. So that's 3 times 3 and x to the 5th times x to the 5th. And so 3 times 3 is 9. And we just did x to the 5th times x to the 5th, which was x to the 10th. So the answer to this is 9. I'll write it here so we can see it a little better. Times x to the 10th. All right, so we've got 2 squared, and we're going to multiply 3 of those together. That's 2 squared to the 3rd power. So it's 2 squared times 2 squared times 2 squared. I have 3 of them. So in this case, it would be 2, and I'm adding 2 together 3 different times. Gives us 2 to the 6. We're going to look at it in this terms. We're going to have 2 squared to the x squared 3 different times. This is, by the way, the long way to do it. But if you get stuck on something and you need the long way, use the long way. Rather you get the right answer than no answer at all. So I have base 2, and the exponents are 2, 2, and 2. And I have x squared. So this is 2 to the 6th, x to the 6th. All right, so without writing it out, what would this one be without doing it the long way? M to the 15th. This one would be 2 to the 5th, m to the 5th. Power, if it's a power to a power, multiply the exponent. So if I already have a power on the inside and I'm raising it to another power, just multiply those two little guys together. On the next one, thank you. If there are multiple items in parentheses, all raised to a power, multiply to each exponent in parentheses. Don't forget invisible ones. So to help us remember not to forget invisible ones, I'm going to put the little Pac-Man ghost right here.
You gotta color it blue. Aww, it's so sad.
Should we make him mad? We'll make him a mean one. Don't forget these are the little ghosts. Well, the invisible ones, the little ghosts.
Yeah, they do exclude me.
So if we have multiple items in parentheses, all raised to a power, I'm going to put my power symbol back up here. Thor's hammer, that's right. Then multiply each exponent in the parentheses. So I'm going to put a little
Rainbow?
I'm going to put these little people. They're each of them going to get a rainbow.
Aww, that's fun.
So they each get their rainbow.
Why are you really checking him?
I know.
All right. Let's apply the rule. And make sure you guys got it. I'm recording this for my people. Alright, so when we raise a power to another power, we are multiplying those exponents together. So 4 times 7 is 28. The same applies when you have fractions. It doesn't matter what your powers are, the rule applies to them. So x to the 2/3 times 1/2. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once, and it's x to the 1/3. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 2 one time. Go ahead. I just simplified before I multiplied. What's 2 divided by 2? So you multiply the top one by 2. And then 2 divided by 2. Same answer. Okay, let's take a moment. Do these 3 problems. And we'll check our answers in just a second. Okay, so these answers are p to the 5 times 4, which is p to the 20. P to the 1/2 times 1/4, which is p to the 1/8. And p to the 4 times 5, which is also p to the 20. Alright, so let's look at the scenario where we have multiple things going on. Let's take care of our parentheses first, so don't forget order of operations. We're going to take care of parentheses and exponents before we do multiplication. So we have our y cubed. We're going to take our y to the 5/2 and multiply it by -2. That goes first, the exponents go first. So we're just going to rewrite the y cubed. And 5/2 times -2 is -10/2, or -5. So this is y to the -5. So now I can take care of that multiplication. I'm going to multiply those two numbers together. What do I do with the exponents? Together. Yeah, so this is going to be y to the 3 plus -5. And how do we like final answers? Is negative exponents okay? Not, unless we're scientific notation, but that's not the case here, definitely. So we're going to say that this is 1 over y to the positive 2. All right, give that a whirl with these problems down here. All right, let's check your work on these problems. We want to make sure we do the multiplication first. So this is x squared times x to the 6 times -4. X squared times x to the -24. And then we add these two together, x to the 2 plus -24. That's x to the -22. We, of course, write that as positive exponent. Move him down so he can be happy and positive. We got w to the -2. We're going to deal with him in a second. I'm going to multiply 5/3 times 3. 3 on the top divided by 3 on the bottom gives us 1. And we get w to the 5. You can multiply across the top and across the bottom to get 15/3, and then simplify if you would like. So then we add our exponents together, w to the -2 plus 5, or w to the 3rd. Alright, so we had 1 over x to the 22 and w cubed. All right, let's take a look at this crazy one. Which expression represents the area of the square? If it's a square, then we got the two sides squared. It's going to be 5 squared times x cubed times 2. So it would be 25 x to the 6. That matches this guy. Okay, so we're going to do that same process with these problems. We're going to apply the power to each item inside the parentheses. You can do this as long as you have multiplication or division. So going on between 7 and m to the 9th is multiplication. So we can give the power to each item in there. So 7 to the 3rd, 49 times 7. 7 is 63. 8. 28, 34. Okay. This is 343. M to the 27. This guy here, we get 2 to the negative 4 and x to the negative 4. We're going to go ahead and write that as positive, so we're going to bump it down. And let's go ahead and find what 2 to the 4th is. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So it's 1 over 16x to the 4th. And last, but certainly not least in this series, we have 3 to the negative 2 and g to the 4th times negative 2. When each item in there gets that negative 2 power. So this is, let's do the time scene first before we move it. Come on, buddy. There we go. So it's 3 to the negative 2 and g to the negative 8. I'm going to move all those down to the bottom so they can be positive. And 3 squared is 9, so we're going to go ahead and write 9g to the 8 in the denominator. Okay, so this is the worst case scenario when you have a bunch of things running around, but we are going to use what we know about the properties. When we have exponents and we're raising them to more exponents, we're going to multiply them. We have multiplying the same basis, we're going to add the exponents. So let's raise the power to the power first. So this is going to be n to the 1/2 times 10. And then this is going to be 4 to the 3rd, m to the 3rd, n to the negative 2/3 times 2. Oh, sorry, times 3.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's okay. Let's do it legit. Okay. Close these parentheses. So what is 1/2 times 10? Half of 10. 5. 4 times 4. Jake?
Is that negative 2/3?
It is. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. I have n to the 3rd, and negative 2/3 times 3 is negative 2. So I have n to the negative 2. All right, let's pull out 64 and m to the 3rd and buddy up the n's together because they're like cousin. It's been so long. We have 64m cubed. And then we're going to add these exponents together. And 5 plus negative 2 is 3. So all that shenanigans gives us 64m cubed n cubed. Remember, we put the numbers in the front. We alphabetize the letters. Okay, so you guys go ahead and give that a whirl. Check our answers in 1 minute. So let's do the parentheses first. We're going to multiply the negative 2 by 2. The 3 is going to get the power 4. The x is going to get the power 4. And the y to the 5th is also going to get the power 4, but it's going to be multiplied because it already has an exponent. So let's simplify this out. This is x to the negative 4, 3 to the 4th, x to the 4, and y to the 20. 3 to the 4th goes out front. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And we have y to the 20. Anything to the 0 power is 1. And 3 to the 4th is 81. 3 times 3 is 9. Times 3 is 27. Times 3 is 81. X to the 0 is 1. It's 1 times 81 is still 81. And we have y to the 20th. We're going to do the same thing over with this other problem. We'll take care of the parentheses first. Oh, there's our little 3 to the 4th again. Yay, we know what that is. C to the 5 halves times that 4. And then c to the 2 times 3. So let's simplify that 5 halves times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. And 20 over 2 is the same as 10. Or you can think of it as 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 twice. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 to the 4th power is 81. And 10 plus 6 is 16. So the answers for each one of these is 81y to the 20th. And 81c to the 16th. Wow.